I was fortunate enough to lead some players who probably are still role models to many of you in this room, the likes of Dravid, Tendulkar, Lakshman, Sehwag. You see the current crop of Kohli, Rohit Sharma, Pant, some of these great players who have donned Indian colors over a long period of time. And in my journey as a leader to be a successful unit, it was very important that I manage those individuals differently because everyone is not the same and everyone has different habits, and most importantly everyone has different ways of being successful. In a corporate world, when you work with a group of individuals, you must understand that every individual is different. Every individual will have his own way to take the brand forward. It's no different in sport, it's no different in cricket. And I think that's where leadership, whether it's in supply chain management, that's where leadership in professional life, that's where leadership in personal life, and that's where leadership in a sporting life comes in. It's important that you allow every individual to perform and you manage them in a way that they are in a position to express their ability. Many of us in this room and many of us outside, once you get into a leadership position, you believe that because I'm in such a position, because I've been given the authority to lead this group, it should work the way I think. It doesn't happen like that. The best leaders work with people and adjust to people. As they said, you hire CEOs to tell you what to do, and it's never the other way around. It's never the process of my way or the highway. It's about the process of accepting what individuals have, the talent they have, the way they want to work, and then channelizing it to the performance of the unit. Along with managing individuals, along with giving them the freedom to express themselves, the biggest challenge and the biggest capability or the quality which a leader must have is to take the fear factor away from individuals. There are people in this room, there are people in the business world, there are people in the sporting world who want to succeed. They get into this to succeed, to make a name for themselves, and for them the biggest worry is the fear of failure, is the fear that what happens if I don't succeed. For all of you, it's an opportunity. For all of you, it's a brand. When you played for the country, when you played for India, there was only one team. In a professional world, in a business world, if it's not Blue Ocean, it's some another company. If it's not the Ambanis, it's the Adanis. If it's not the Adanis, it's the Tatas. If it's not the Tatas, it's the Jindals. You have opportunity, you have options. But in a sporting world, if you did not play for India, you had no other option but to go back and play first class cricket. So the drop from being a country's hero to a normal person was a couple of games away. So the pressure, the expectation, the demands were a lot more in your journey to success. And I think that's where a leader comes in. That's where a leader in a professional world, in a world of high pressure, high expectation, comes in with his capabilities of taking the fear away, the fear of failure away. You create an atmosphere where they go and express themselves. I had some great players in the team, players who played differently, players who had different approaches to the game. And once you selected them, once you gave them an opportunity to play, it was about allowing them to go and play the way they want to. And this is very important in professional world as well. As I've said, you don't hire people to tell them what to do, but it's the other way around. I'll tell you, I was fortunate enough to captain a player like Virendra Sehwag. I had the fortune and the good luck to captain someone like him. And I'll tell you a small story. He was a young boy who came from Delhi. He was from Najafgarh, an absolute raw talent, an individual with a lot of ability, and an individual with fears as well. He walks into a dressing room with a Dravid or a Tendulkar or a Ganguly or a Kumble, and he knows that he has to perform. He has to perform to survive at this level. A week before the start of the first test, I meet him at breakfast, and I had this in my mind that I'll ask him to open in test matches. He was never an opener. He was someone who played all his career in the middle order for Delhi. And I remember that conversation with him that morning. I went up to him and said, Viru, you're such a fantastic player. but you're not being able to get a game because you had Dravid at 3, Tendulkar at 4, myself at 5, and Lakshman at 6. He said, I said, someone like you cannot be just sitting on the benches because it'll take a long time to get into the squad, and I don't want you to do that. So I said, why don't you open and give it a go? And I could see it on his face that because he was a young player walking into a dressing room of great players, he couldn't tell me no because this is something which he has never done in his life. But at the same time, he wanted to play, but had this fear that what happens if I don't succeed because I've not opened in my life as a batsman. And I could see that in his face. So the next immediate answer from him to me was, Dada, I've never done this. I said, so what if you've never done this? And I knew what the next question was. What happens if I get out early with the new ball? What happens if I fail? And I think that's where leadership comes in. You'll have a lot of people who you select in your journey to success in your company, who will take the brand forward, who will create the deliverables for the companies who you work with. They will have this mindset. They will have this fear because they want it badly. They want to be in the team. They want to be in the brand. They want to make a name for themselves. They will have this fear of failure in them. And I think that's where captaincy, that's where leadership, that's where management comes in. You find a way to take it away from him. And I remember that conversation with Viru, and I said, it doesn't matter if you fail because you're doing something for the team. You're doing something which is out of your position. You're doing something which you've never done before. So even if you don't get runs as an opener, we will find an opportunity for you to bat down the order. The conversation continued. At the end of the conversation, he said, can you write that on a piece of paper for me? I said, this is not a legal court that you want me to write something on a piece of paper. This is a cricket team where selection happens on the basis of performance, and you have to take my word and go and perform. He opened for India and became one of the best openers India has had ever in the history of Test and One Day cricket. Even after playing 100 Test matches, I remember a press conference where he said, I want to bat in the middle. So I called him up because I had finished playing by then, and I said, are you mad? Why have you said this again after playing 100 Test matches? He said, no, Dada, I was taking the mickey out of everyone. I said, you would not have been a player. You would not have been the player you are or what you've achieved over the last 10, 11 years if you hadn't opened for India. And I say this to all of you because in your journey to deal with individuals, and you are a company, you have more people because you work for others, you manage others' projects, you create the backroom work, and you make sure that the company who you work with at the end of the day loses less and makes more. So you will have to deal with people who will come with various ideas. You will have to deal with people who look things differently. And at the same time, as the boss, as the leader, you'll have to find a way to get the best out of them. So in your journey to success and in your journey to create an unit which is successful, it's about managing the individuals who you work with. Because they say in sport, they say in business, your biggest investment is investment in personal, investment in the people who you work with. And for me, it's a step forward. It's not just investment in the personal, but it's about managing the person, creating an environment where he gives the best for you. So for me, the first and the foremost thing about leadership is about managing individuals and taking the fear factor away. So when I talk about leadership, not only just in the corporate world, but in the sports world, for me, the most important thing is man management. It's the people who you work with. In this room, in business, you have so many you deal with, maybe thousands, lakhs. But in a cricket team, you dealt with 15 or 20 who were selected from the millions who played the sport in our country. And we live in a cricket crazy country, a country where every young boy or a girl, and now girls as well, every young boy or a girl wants to play for the country, wear their blue shirt, and be successful. So in your journey to success as a brand, as a team, as a corporate, nothing changes from a sports team. It's about the leader managing the individuals. I was captain of a side, and India being a vast country, there were players from all over the country. Somebody was from the south, somebody was from the north, from the east, from the west, and every one of them was different. Every individual was different for the other. And I think that's where man management came in on our journey to be successful. Next, most important in your journey to success is handling pressure. This is something very common to everyone. I know it's a bit more in sport, a lot more in sport, as I said, because you have only one team, one national team, where 15 or rather 11 of the millions who play the sport get an opportunity to play. And you're always under the expectation of people. You're always under the scrutiny of people. There is always somebody trying to think that somebody else is better than the other. And as a performer, as an employee, as a leader, as an individual, your biggest reason of success or the biggest reason of failure is how you handle pressure. There's pressure in everyone's life, and pressure doesn't finish. One young player asked me that, how did you deal with pressure? I said, from the day I first wore the whites as a young boy at the age of 13 or 14, and the day I finished taking those whites off at the age of 40, there was always this pressure of expectation. There were always this pressure of performance. There was always this pressure of being better than the other. There was always this pressure of achieving the goals. There was always this pressure from a business point of view of achieving the targets. You have to find a way to deal with it. And the most important and the easiest way of dealing with pressure is to accept it. It's about me rather than why me. I've seen individuals who you put them in a responsible position. First question they would ask is, why me? Why not somebody else? And the best in the business and the best in the group will look for that opportunity. I've always said to young entrepreneurs, young individuals, every time you get an opportunity or every time you're put into a difficult position, whether to lead a project, whether to bat at number 3 for India in places like South Africa, Australia, or the West Indies, or to become a CEO of the company, don't look at it as a pressure. Look at it as an opportunity to succeed. That's the only way you can deal with pressure. When you're put in big positions, when you're put in difficult circumstances, look at it as an opportunity. And once you start to look at pressure, face pressure, handle pressure over a period of time, it becomes a part of your system. When I finished playing cricket after a period of 20 years, I still remember doing an interview with one of the leading newspapers in the country. And it was a journalist who had seen me play all throughout my career and someone who I had known very closely. I remember the question he asked me when I finished. He said, you've played for such a long period of time. You've achieved so much. You've been captain of India. What is it that you miss after 15, 16 years at the international level? I still remember, and I genuinely meant what I answered him that afternoon. I told him, I miss that challenge. I don't miss the money. I don't miss the fame. I don't miss the dressing room. I don't miss the grandeur. I don't miss the 5-star hotels, the luxury travel, the accolades of the people. But what I miss is the challenge. What I miss is that opportunity to become successful. What I miss, for us, it was about waking up in the morning, and by the time it was 4:30 in the evening, you were either successful or you were a failure. In business, in films, in life, you had an opportunity to redo it again. And a lot of people ask me that what has been the most difficult and the most satisfying role in all the portfolios you've held. I said, player and captain of India. And the reason I say this is because every morning I used to wake up with the challenge, with the fear, with the expectations, with the emotion of knowing that I have to succeed and I don't have a second chance. In business, in real life, if you make a mistake, you can wake up next morning and correct it and still move forward. But in sport, if you nick the delivery of Glenn McGrath outside the off stump, they will not ask you to bat again. So you are actually living on the edge. You are actually living a real life. And I say that to everyone, that when I finished playing, when I gave up the sport, At the end of the day, everything comes to an end. I said, that's the challenge I miss. When I train day in, day out, when I go back to the nets trying to master a shot, trying to master a performance, and then when I go and execute in the middle and win matches for India, there is no better satisfaction than that. So when all of you in this room and outside this room in this world are put under pressure of performance, pressure of expectancy, just embrace it. Don't turn your face away, because as you keep doing it day in, day out, it'll become a part of your system. It'll become a part of your muscle memory. And over a period of time, you will realize that you are at your best when somebody puts pressure on you. It's the most successful, the best, I won't say the easiest, but the best is to find a way to deal with it. Find a way of success. Find a way of dealing with it, because every individual is different. An Indian batting lineup during my era had a Sehwag at the top who would hit every delivery. You had Rahul Dravid at number 3, and I'll tell you a small story. You know, the hardest thing in cricket when I was captain and as a batsman was to sit with Sehwag in the change room after he's got out. And the reason I say this is because you had Dravid at number 3, and with the new ball, you had someone who would leave deliveries outside the off stump. You know, you bowl that line outside the off stump, he'll keep leaving till the ball gets old. And then you had Sehwag at the top, whose way of making an new ball old is by hitting that. So there were two people with completely contrasting styles of being successful, but both were tremendously successful. And when you sat next to Sehwag, every time Dravid left a delivery outside the off stump, he would sit with his coffee and sometimes his masala Haryanvi chai and say 4, 2, 4. So after a while, you would turn back to him and say, you get lost. You please go into the dressing room because your time is over. You've nicked the first ball of Jimmy Anderson to slips, and don't come and play an inning sitting next to me, because you look at cricket differently. I look at cricket differently. When you get an opportunity to bat, please go and hit these balls for 4. So the reason I say this is that every individual will have a way of handling pressure differently. But the basic thing is that you must still find your own way to handle pressure and handle success. There's no two individuals who will achieve things the same way. That's the rule of life, because everyone is blessed with different abilities, everyone is blessed with different talent. But as a leader, you must understand that biggest challenge and your biggest way forward is to accept each other's individuality and find a way to success. I had two individuals in my team, and I'm not going to take names because I see everybody taking a video and this is not going to stay inside this room. There was a champion who was old school, who played cricket differently, who with discipline. If you would ask him the day before the test match, what would you do tomorrow? He said, I'll get up for breakfast at 7:30 in the morning. I'll be at the breakfast table. 8 o'clock, I'll be in the bus, well prepared for the test match. And when you look at him in the morning, you will see him doing exactly that meticulously. That is his preparation to succeed. And there was another young, absolutely talented individual when as a captain you woke up and you had to knock his door and say, are you up? We have a test match to play. So there were two individuals who were a part of the same team. There were two individuals who looked at sport differently, but when they both got into the middle, playing for the country, playing for the state, they delivered. And that is when I say that as a leader, it's very important to understand them. I know in business it's slightly easier because you have a group to help. You have a group of people on the same table to help. But in sport, it's different, because when you're batting in the middle, it's about you. Nobody can help you. You have to find your own way to score. But as a leader, it's important that you understand their mechanism of success, their mechanism of doing well. Take the pressure away from them and understand that you will have to find a way in their manner for them to be successful. So it is about embracing pressure. It is about putting yourself day in, day out under that system. And you will realize that it becomes a muscle memory. My third reason of success is belief, self belief. It's a very common word in everyone's life. It's a word which has a lot of weight and a lot of value. All our lives when we've grown up as a young boy in school, college, young entrepreneurs, senior entrepreneurs in this room, they say if you believe you can, you can. It's a very simple line, but it's a line which has enormous effect on every individual. And the difference between a successful person, a difference between a non-successful person, along with the efforts he puts in, along with the work he puts in to be successful, is that faith on himself, that I will do it. I will be successful. I will be successful for Blue Ocean. I'll be successful for India. That is the difference between a successful player and a non-successful. I'll tell you a small story. I had the fortune of seeing a very popular film star, very close to cricket and a very popular film star in his life. I remember one afternoon, in those days, white ball cricket had started, and we were at Eden Gardens playing a cricket match. And it was raining. It was raining, and the game hadn't started. And we were sitting in the dressing room. And one of my colleagues asked him, he said, you've been such a popular person. You're a successful man. People around the world look at you. You've entertained people for years. What is it that has made you successful? And I still remember the lines he said that day. He was young. We were young as well. And this is about 2007, 2008. He said, I came to Bombay with nothing. I had no money. I was not a part of the film family. I was not part of the family who had already had their footprints in the film world, which obviously makes it a lot easier with the opportunities, with the name you have. I just came as an individual from one part of India with a name and a dream of becoming successful. He said, I was not as good looking as some. I was not as good as a dancer as some, But what I used to do every morning is I used to stand in front of the mirror and tell to myself that I'll be the best with whatever I have. I'll work hard. I know what my skills are. I'm not the most good looking man. I don't have those six packs in my body. I'm not a muscular person, but I'll be such a good actor that my acting skills will take over the rest. And over the years, he became one of the most popular and one of the most successful actors over a period of time. My first trip to England in 1996, I was a young boy and we had gone to Sussex to play. And I met the great Desmond Haynes. A lot of you must have seen Gordon Greenwich and Desmond Haynes, two of the greatest openers in world cricket at that time. He was the coach of Sussex County Cricket Club. We were playing a warm-up game in the month of April, and it was freezing in England, in Hove, in Brighton, with the breeze. It was absolutely cold, and I wasn't playing that game. I saw him sitting in one corner in the change room, and he was on his own. I went up to him and said, "Sir, you've been such a great player. Yourself, you've played for the West Indies for such a long period of time with success. What is it for you is the recipe to become a good player and a player who played for a long period of time? Very similar to your business, who you want to stay in the system for a long period of time." And I was a young boy, 22, 23 years of age, and I still remember what he told me that day. He said, Saurav, I played the best fast bowlers in the world. I played the likes of Thompson, Lilly, Bob Willis, Ian Botham, Imran Khan, Wasim Akram, Kapil Dev, Richard Hadley, the great fast bowlers of the world. And I used to open. I used to open in different conditions. I would open in the flat pitches in India. I would open in the seaming pitches in England. I would open on the fast, quick pitches in Australia. I realized over a period of 100 test matches which I played, he said, the nights I went to sleep with the belief that I will hit the ball in the middle of the bat, 70% of the times I succeeded. And at times when I went to bed in the night with the thought, maybe it's a wicket which will do a bit. Maybe Jeff Thompson is bowling the quickest in that phase of his life. Maybe Dennis Lilly is someone who can get me out. I invariably nicked it next morning. These are very simple words, but these are words which actually have a humongous effect in your journey to success, in your journey to build a good unit. Your body reacts to what your mind thinks. And if you want to be successful, if you want to do well, it's that mirror every morning in your life. When you wake up and say that I'm going to work hard, I'm going to give everything in me what I have to be successful, and there is no one better than me. It's not being arrogant. It's not about trying to tell the next one that you're not good enough. It's just about that inner strength in you, that inner feeling in you that I will be successful with whatever I have. As they say, if you believe you can, you will be successful. And the difference between the best and the not so very best, along with the hard work, along with the opportunities, is that faith on oneself, that I will deliver come what may. It works like magic. Along with belief, it's about vision. It's about vision to be successful. And when you talk about Blue Ocean Corporation, they're successful brand in Dubai, successful corporate in Dubai, coming to India for the first time. They're coming to India with the vision, with the optimism, with the hope of bringing the same successful method what worked for them in Dubai in the last 26 years. It's about vision from the leadership. It's about what you want to achieve. The difference between the best and the normal ones is the eyes looking higher, not lower. And I think that's where the vision of a leader comes in. It is what you want to make about the opportunities you have. It's about finding a way to create the best out of the opportunities you want. When I first became captain of India, we never had a fitness trainer. We never had a strength and conditioning coach. We had Indian coaches. I still remember in 1996, I went to England. I got two back-to-back hundreds in the first two test matches. For the entire 3 months of the tour to England, I did not know where the gym was because we never had that culture of going to the gym. For us, it was about getting into the nets, hitting some balls, taking catches, practicing, and get ready for the game. And when I first became captain, and a lot of you must have read at various places, that for me it was about winning abroad. It was about being a good team away from home. India were always a good side at home with the likes of Kumble and Harbhajan and the great spinners we have produced over a long period of time. We were almost an unbeatable side at home. But as we got together as a young group with the likes of Dravid, Tendulkar, myself, we were all of the same age. Our biggest aim and goal was to become as good a side away from home as we are in India. So it was the vision of a few young people who wanted to change the way cricket was played and change the way people looked at us. When we went away, when we went abroad, people would think, oh, this team had some great players. There's a Tendulkar who will get 100. There's a Nazaruddin who will get 100. Maybe Anil Kumble will pick 5 wickets. But at the end of the day, on day 5 of a test match, it's either England and Australia winning away from home. So as a leader, as a team, as a group of people, because as I said at the start, we will only succeed if we work together as a group, because that's what the business and the nature demands. It's the vision of all of you together of how you want to go forward as a brand. Whether you just want to be happy being successful in Dubai, or you want to create a similar or probably a bigger unit in a bigger country with bigger reach like India. And I think that's where vision of leadership, that's where vision of taking for way forward goes. And I think in your journey to achieve this, it's very important that along with the leadership group, it's the people, because I've always said you can have the owners, you can have the leaders, but a brand, a company, a team is made successful by its members. And I've said that, people who work for you are the backbone of you. I became a good captain because I was not the only one scoring hundreds. I became a good captain because Dravid got 100. Tendulkar got 100. Kumble got 5 wickets. Zahir Khan got 5. If you individually stand up and perform, as a group, you will be more successful. So vision and belief is more important. For me, in your journey to success, in your journey to leadership, it's very important to handle when the chips are down. As you grow up, you will face situations where it will not be easy. You will face situations where the profits will not be what you want. If you'll face situations that your expectations at that quarter in the balance sheet has not been reflected. Maybe your clientele is not happy, but you still have to find a way to succeed and hold yourself under tough situations, because every individual will go through a tough situation. There's no one in the world who has not gone through a down after seeing the highs of life. And I'll tell you from an experience of mine, not just mine, a lot of people who I've known over a long period of time. I got dropped in 2006 after 10 years of being a successful player, captain, and after 10 years of a graph which was just upwards. And I wasn't dropped because I couldn't play. I was dropped because of reasons beyond the game. I was captain for a long period of time, and very rarely in any sport you'll see, from being a captain, from being a successful leader, from being the boss, to not even getting an opportunity in the 11 of the side. And the reason I say this to all of you, because those 6 months of my life probably made me a better person, a better player, and a tougher individual. I remember my conversations with my dad in India. If your son plays cricket, it's actually the dad and mom who's playing more than the son. That's how they are involved. And that's how they're so connected. So, when, as I said, involved with their son's sport. I got left out, and I remember one Sunday sitting with him, and India were playing very well. India were winning, and he came up to me and said, "I don't think you'll play for India again." I was just 32, 33. And he said, "You'll not play for the country again." So I listened to him because I knew he was an anxious dad who wanted me to play, wanted me to do well, and he was sad that I was not being a part of the team and the circumstances in which I was left out. I didn't tell him much. 10, 12 days later, he again came back to me. India kept winning. He said, every time India wins, it gets more difficult for you. And then there were actually headlines in the newspaper that every India win, Ganguly's comeback gets delayed. The headlines in the newspaper. And I could see my father being affected by it. So as I listened to him for I won't say discussed, I listened to him for a few weeks, and I said, can I tell you something? He said, yes. He said, I'm 32, 33. I've played for 10 years. 10 years, I've seen the best captain, the most successful captain at that time. I said, I've got two options in life. Either I just be happy with it, that you've achieved so much, played more than 300 games for India, captain, the rest of your life you'll be still respected and loved by people, or I give it a try. Because once I get to 40, I will not be able to play the sport, because the demands of sport becomes tougher and tougher with age. It's not like business, it's not like corporates, that as you grow older you get more experience, more valuable. Sport is completely the other way around. So I told him, I'm going to give it a try, and we'll see what happens. If I make it, I make it. If I don't make it, I don't make it. Because I still wanted to play the game. Playing the game that's all what I did in my life, and I still wanted to do it again. I trained and trained. I knew Indian cricket a bit more than he did. And he was obviously a dad who loved his son and wanted the best for him. But in life, you don't get the best all the time. 6 months later, India were touring South Africa and didn't have a great one-day series. And I was called back into the test side. I had a very, very young, good, lovable friend. He was a journalist. He was a photographer. As soon as my name got announced, he picked up the phone and said, "Why South Africa? They're quick pitches. They have the best fast bowlers in the world. The team is not playing well at the moment. Why have they picked you for South Africa? 3 test matches. You were back in India. West Indies were here. Flat pitches. You'll score lots of runs. Why do you want to go to South Africa?" So I just listened. I said, that's not in my hands, and I've got selected, so I have to go. I can't tell them I can't go. I went to South Africa. And I finished that series with the most runs as a batsman. I came back. I got picked in the one-day series and played even better. Played for a period of 4 years, scored thousands of runs over those 4 years. The reason I tell you this is because in your journey to be successful, in your journey to making this brand a very successful brand in India, in the world, you will go through these situations where people will reject you. And as you grow older, your bosses will think the younger boy is better than you. Let's invest in youth because they have future. They'll deliver. That's the way forward for the business. But it doesn't work like that. If you lose the music inside you, you will lose the battle. And the reason I say this is because I retired after 5 years since that incident, and that night when I went back to the dressing room and said to my teammates that this is going to be my last series, I was still at my best. I don't want to play anymore. And the answer which came back from them is why. This is the best I've seen you bat in the last 4-5 years. And I'm talking about a career of 15, 16 years. The reason I tell you this is in your journey to success, you'll have when people will not believe in you, when the chips will be down, but you need to persist. You need to have that faith. You need to have that ability to work hard, because all of us, when we grow, when we become bigger, when we travel, we want an arm around the shoulder saying that, no, you're good. You're good. You have the talent. You have the ability. You will do well. But there will be a time in life when that arm will not be around the shoulder because people will lose faith in you. And you will realize that if you work hard, if you keep doing what you did for a long period of time, you will actually be better than what you were when everybody had faith in you. Because you realize that, it's all about you. I went into test matches, went into series, went into one days thinking that this could be my last. If I don't play well, I will not get an opportunity again. So I had to play well. And when you go through that period of tough situations, when you go through that period of losses, when you go through that period of unsuccessful times, you will actually realize that your capability, your characteristics, your deliverables are actually better than what it is when you are at your best. And I finish with one line for all of you to carry it back, because I've spoken a lot of things, and to carry it back in your life, in whatever you do, whether business, whether for Blue Ocean, whether your individual capacity, it's actually not over till you believe it's over. The world can believe that it's done, it's over, but it's actually not over till you believe it's over. Thank you.